off the week on Monday, February 2nd. So we're still coming down off the Leo moon, so things are still going to be very intense, as full moons always are. And that full moon was conjunct a lot of planets together with that whole group of planets there, Mars, Pluto, Venus, Mercury. It's a lot of intensity. Now, the second, the moon will actually move over to the sign of Virgo later in the day, in the evening, okay? And this is Imbolc, or Groundhog Day. And Imbolc is a pagan holiday, and a lot of times the way I remember it is as the goddess unfurling. And I saw a picture one time, I think I used it a few years ago when I was talking about Imbolc, of like this little goddess underground, and she's just starting to wake up and unfurl. And so there's all snow, and boy, is there snow in New England right now. So she's there and she's awakening, right? And it's going to take a little while until we feel her warmth, but she's starting. And I think of those flowers just starting to grow and push up in the ground. And it's pretty amazing to think about. And so it's kind of refreshing. And it's kind of, if you have any seasonal depression or any, it's just hard here without a lot of light and being cold here in New England, know that the goddess is beginning to unfurl. Okay. So I hope that gives you some hope there on February 2nd. Now, this week we have a lot of squares. We have a lot of squares in general with the planet Uranus, and Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. And squares are those 90-degree angles, those challenges. And, it doesn't have to be a horrible thing. It's just not like smooth and easy going. So Mercury's square Uranus, Venus is square Uranus. We're just going to be dealing with a lot of Uranus this month. Now, the 3rd, we have Uranus, here we go again, Uranus going direct. Now it's been in its retrograde for a while, and it moved back into the sign of Taurus because it was in Gemini for a while. And now on the 3rd, it goes direct, and it's still at 27 degrees of Taurus, but it's going to start to move forward again. Okay, so I think this is going to be a good thing. And I wrote down bend with the winds of change. Uranus is often seen as that lightning bolt of change. So just kind of flow with it. And it may feel a little shocking at first, but just go with the flow. We're in new territory. By mid-month, Pluto, the planet of transformation and change, will be at about 4 degrees of Aquarius, where it has not been in, I think it's like 300 and something years. So we are in the age of Aquarius. We're in new times. There's a lot of unknown. We don't know. We will start to see more clearly as planets start to move into Aries, and we just have to stay focused and grounded. And like I was saying last month, stay grateful. I think that is a key word, grateful. If the world's atrocities are not affecting us directly, feel grateful for that. But do not think that that gives you a reason to not speak up and speak out and to act. So the moon will continue to stay in the mutable earth sign of Virgo on Tuesday the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th until 4:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 5th. So, I always think when the moon's in Virgo, what a great time to organize, pay bills, clean your house. So take advantage of that. And then it will move into Libra on Thursday the 5th in the morning. Now, we have a few things going on between the 5th and the 6th. One is that Mercury square Uranus, which we talked about. And I wrote down, take notes while the dust settles, okay? Because Mercury's the communicator and Uranus is that lightning bolt. On the 6th, Mercury is going to change signs. It's going to leave Aquarius and enter the watery sign of Pisces. And this is called a psychic placement. So psychic energy is going to run really, really high, especially as we have more and more planets moving into Pisces later in the month. So what does it mean, a psychic placement? Well, it just means if you were born with Mercury in a water sign like me, I was born with it in Scorpio, we're going to feel things. Our sixth sense is going to be stronger. We're going to notice, I often tell people I will have intense dreams and I will take note of them and often write them down. I will notice when some weird interaction happens. I look for repeat themes and I often get them. They often reference my dreams. I'll have strong feeling about something, even though maybe it doesn't make sense at the time. That's how psychic energy works for me. So pay attention to yours. While Mercury is in the water sign of Pisces from February 6th until 14th. Now, Venus is going to, let's see, what is Venus doing? Well, Venus rules the sign Libra, and the moon will be there the 5th, the 6th, the 7th until midday on the 7th, and then the moon will move into Scorpio. So we have a nice weekend of starting off with Libra, which is harmonious and it rules relationships. And then it moves into Scorpio, which has an intensity to it that I like. And there's more psychic energy because Scorpio's a water sign. So please, please, please don't disregard your feelings, okay? Things are going to get trippy. Your dreams can be increased. You might not feel as analytical as you usually do, but it's okay. There's psychic energy, and that's here to what you're here to learn about. Now, Venus is going to square Uranus on the 8th. Venus is in the sign of Aquarius, and Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. Now, Venus in Aquarius, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus in Taurus, Taurus is ruled by Venus. This is called mutual reception, and it's really cool in some ways. Things can happen, things can show up, and opportunities can present themselves. There can be unexpected shifts in love and money. Like I said, Uranus is often shocking, but it can end up being a really, really good thing. So enjoy that. Now, that's Sunday. So let's pull some cards here for your first week. Now, it's interesting. I went to figure out which cards I was going to use. I got my pendulum out and I'm like, okay, are the cards here at my reading table? And the pendulum's like, no. Are the cards in my suitcase that I keep in my car when I read at the hotels? No. Are the cards here at the store in Kent on the shelves? Yes. So I had to go over to the shelves and I had to go through each shelf. I asked my pendulum, is it on this shelf, on this shelf? And it was very, very clear the decks that it wanted to use. Now, some of these decks I haven't even read with. So the Nightfall Tarot is one of the ones that showed up. We're going to work with this. This one I'm slightly familiar with. But one of the ones I've never worked with before is the Amber Moon Tarot. And we have a lot of these sample tarot cards out. So I just grabbed them, and this is going to be fresh for both of us here because I haven't worked with either of those. Okay, and then I have the good old Spellcasters, which is one of my favorites. It's pretty intense, and I'm going to give you a card from there also. This is the Spellcasters, and I love the Spellcasters. Now, I'm also have an oracle deck because it was very, very, my pendulum was very clear that it wanted an oracle and it wanted this one. And I think this is Q, maybe is how you pronounce oracle. And it's kind of cool because there's a Regina card in this deck. I've seen it once, and let's see if we get it. Okay, so very specific cards here. I have not looked at any of them. Let's see what the themes for this week are. Your first card from the Nightfall Tarot is the Three of Cups. This is a great card. I mean, it's joyous. People are celebrating, and and hopefully we'll be celebrating that the groundhog says that we will not be having much more winter. So Three of Cups, card of joy, card of celebration, a lot of emotion. There's a lot of wateriness this month. Your next card is the Moon. Speaking of wateriness, this card's gorgeous. I really love it. And so the moon, intuition, right? I think of the moon, I think of the pull of the moon, right? And we're talking about a full Leo moon, and that moon is red in the background, which is kind of cool, kind of referencing that Leo. And she's just kind of feeling the power of it. So we have to keep in mind that this week is still feisty and fiery. We're coming down off that full moon, and not only just a full moon, but a full Leo moon. So we may not, sometimes full moons keep us up. We may feel a little stimulated. We might feel a little emotional, but there's a lot of joy here also. The spellcaster's deck is the star. Oh, cool. Because I was going to say that if we got any of these original theme cards that I had pulled out, I think they are going to have more power. And here is the star from the spellcasters. And he feels Egyptian. I really don't know too much about him, but I know he's pouring out the emotions that are not needed, but he looks like he's very connected. Like whatever's on the top of his crown, it almost looks like someone is sitting on a throne to me, but there's a connection there. The star is enlightened up at the top. So very much Uranus energy. Things are being purged out that are not for you, but there's connection and enlightenment, and he just feels like the energy is just running right through him. So this is a very powerful card. So you got 2 major arcanas, or we call those the major secret of life cards, or I like to think of them as like the gods of the tarot deck. And then the minors, like the 3 of Cups, is like everyday life, okay? But it's a great card of celebration. Let's see what your oracle is. It's Carly. These are all women's names in this deck. Carly, she who frees. Liberation, unrestrained freedom. Wait, liberation, unrestrained freedom. She who frees. Okay, so very freeing energy here. And hers, let's see, she looks like she's throwing something into the ocean. Something that no longer works for her. Let me see what the book says about this. Let's see. I have it right here. Let's see what they say about this card, because I'm kind of curious what she's throwing in the ocean. It says, Carly, she who frees, demonstrates how useless it is to try to bind her. Oh, maybe those were chains. She stands barefooted on the rocky shore, her hair blowing loose from the confining headband. Birds swoop overhead. The waves break upon the rock where she perches. Nothing can contain her. She has made the decision to be free, so free she will be. Her wrist bears the mark of the shackle. She will always remember the lessons of wearing them, but now she tosses the broken, useless chains into the water. Within the waves, there is almost an electrical pulse as Carly's energy sets her loose. This is a being who will not be restrained. The message of this card is that you face a challenge only you can answer. Will you remain obedient to the chains put upon you, or will you cast them aside to live the liberated life? It is important to remember sometimes bonds are accepted. You should also understand you can change your mind about these restraints. You are at a point where you can end anything you feel holds you back. It would be wise to examine the chains thoroughly, though. Who holds the other end and who holds the key? Okay, that's interesting. And, all this Uranus energy is freeing. It's like that lightning bolt that can just bust things apart. So question where you're chained, who is chaining you, and what direction you really want to be moving into, because the star's there to open up the world for you.